of some shape, size, and color. But just think of, think of God for a moment. You can't imagine.
Is that constitutional?
It's quite constitutional. And you can't. The reason why most people have trouble with God and have, I had great difficulty with in church, with people who think that heaven is a place, for example. Now, if God is a purely spiritual being, God does not exist in any physical place whatsoever. There's a state of being, which is the divine, but not a place. And when you the only thing, one of the reasons why the great Jewish theologian Maimonides and St. Thomas, following the rabbi, insisted upon negative theology is because you cannot positively think of God. People who imagine God, even imagine God, anthropomorphize God, as the artists do, of course. You have to think of God negatively, incorruptible, non-temporal, immaterial, immutable, all those negative words. And when you think of God positive, there are three positive things you can say about God. God lives, God knows, and God wills.
God lives or God exists?
God exists is, whenever you say God exists, lives, wills, and knows, you have to immediately add, but not as you and I exist, not as you and I live, not as you and I know, not as you and I will. That not comes in there, because if you don't do that, you're saying that the word live is applied univocally, in the same sense to God and you.
Well, but does the Christian have this problem with the incarnation?
Well, that's a very difficult problem. Very difficult. But you're way ahead of me now. The problem with the incarnation is a Christian mystery. More complicated than the problem of the intellect and God. What the incarnation is in the creed is one substance of two natures. That's difficult to think. But there's a reason for that, Bill. If you asked yourself, why did God reveal anything to us? As Christians and Jews, I think that we have a divine revelation in sacred scripture, correct? Would God have revealed anything to us that we could normally think by ourselves? No, it would be a waste of time, wouldn't it? So what he revealed is something we can't really understand very well.
Well, then he didn't reveal it very well.
No. The limitation is ours. That is, the finite, the infinite talking to the finite is an interesting kind of jump across a bridge.
Well, you're saying that the revelation ex natura has to be inscrutable?
Difficult to Maritain said the mysteries, the Christian mysteries, are intelligible in themselves, but not to us completely. And that I think, proper for divine revelation.
You know, you can concede their internal coherence without conceding their intelligibility.
That's right.
To what extent does this independent intellect, the mind over matter, to what extent is it critical for approaching revelation or understanding it? Or
I assure you, you couldn't even begin to think about it if the materialists were correct. If the brain is the organ of thought, not just the organ of sense and imagination and memory. See? I say it is an organ. Very important, though. Without it we couldn't think at all. Without it we couldn't think at all. We don't think with it. If the brain were the organ we thought with, I think we wouldn't have any way at all of even stating the mysteries of the Christian religion.
How did Santayana handle that problem? By simply dismissing it as poetry?
Yes. One phrase he used in Life of Reason and Religion, Reason and Religion, is to say that religion is the poetry in which you believe. I think that is a false statement.
Excuse me. Mr. Buckley, I didn't realize until today that dolphins have souls.
Potatoes do too.
Well, let me ask you then, that being the case, why is Dr. Adler so completely confident that dolphins don't have intellects? What is it that is uniquely human about this non-material aspect of thought?
No activity. The dolphins communicate with one another. That they are very intelligent. In fact, the word intellect and intelligence are not the same. The dolphins are more intelligent than chimpanzees, I think, are clear. Their brain-body ratio is the highest next to man. But all the perceptual activities of the dolphins, imaginative perception, are not intellectual.
How do you know?
Well,
how do you know they're not swimming around thinking about triangles?
I don't know. I don't know. In a sense, I can't say, but there's no evidence of it positively. You say, how do I don't know it in the sense of that I have direct evidence that they're not intellectual. But I've never met an anti-intellectual dolphin.
Yeah.
Have you?
And so is anti-intellectualism one proof that the intellect is something larger than the brain?
No. It's one proof that man is the only anti-intellectual animal. There's no evidence that dolphins are anti-intellectual, or pigs or horses are either.
What about potatoes?
No, they are definitely not.
Yeah.
And if you think about that a long time, you'll see that the peculiar characteristic of man with an intellect is there are lots of anti-intellectual men, human beings.
Think about that a long time. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Mortimer Adler, author of, most recently, of Intellect, Mind Over Matter. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kinsley.
Like Freudians, have a way of making every eventuality fit their theory. But a theory that explains everything explains nothing. Only if some eventuality would prove it wrong does it have useful meaning. Professor Johnson is a